It's Friday night. Once again, it's greasy time, everybody. Welcome to the show. Let's get with it and have some fun. All right, let's get at it. I'm JB Simo, coming at you from the funky basement in the house of grease. And, man, there's a lot going on, folks. A lot going on. Welcome to the show. Are you doing all right? I hope you're feeling good. And I hope that love is filling your mind and your heart today. Pun completely intended. My new single, Love, from my new record that comes out August 21st, which is coming up right around the corner, came out today, and really excited about it. So if y'all aren't already, please follow me on Spotify. Just JD Simo. Just type my name in, and it'll come up, and the records I've put out will come up, and just click follow on that. Check out Love and also One of These Days from the new record that's coming out August 21st. And also there's the new video that I humbly made with the assistance of a lot of my dear friends. And that was actually, Relics was kind enough to debut that yesterday, and that was really cool of them. And I've been getting lots and lots and lots of text messages and DMs and everything. I appreciate that. So if you haven't checked all that stuff out, check it out. So anyway, go ahead and throw the graphic up. Welcome to Grease Time, everybody. Got Earl Hooker welcoming you to the show tonight. And going to come back to the home screen and go ahead and throw up the logo so I don't forget who I am, and also throw up the Venmo and PayPal. I really appreciate the contributions. I try and put as much effort as I can into this to share some entertainment and hopefully share some wisdom and all that. And it's really cool if you drop something in there for old JD, because I got mouths to feed, baby. I got kids that need cigarettes, as my old boss Don Kelly used to say. So anyway, without further ado, actually, there's a couple of really awesome announcements coming up here. And I also want to go ahead and play you the video for Love so that if you haven't seen it, you can see it. But first and foremost, got a couple of cool things coming up in the next couple of days. One is tomorrow afternoon. I've started a little humble Instagram podcast, if you will, called Brother from Another Mother. I've had Kirk Fletcher on, I've had Johnny Moeller on, and tomorrow me and the great Jimmy James are going to get together and chat about our favorite records, our favorite guitar players, and we're going to do that tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, which is 2 o'clock Central and noon Pacific, and that'll be on Instagram. So either his Instagram, Scratch Jimmy James, or mine, JD Simo Music, to be able to view that. So that's tomorrow, and that's again going to be like an open discussion. Us talking, we're really good friends, and we usually end up telling really ridiculous stories and have fun, and it's a groovy thing. And then something I'm really excited about, that I'll do proper posting tomorrow, is on Sunday, this Sunday, August 2nd, me and my dear friends, Patrick Sweeney, who you've heard me talk about on the phone, on the show here a lot, one of my favorite singers and songwriters and guitar players, and a fellow obsessee, if you will, of old school blues and R&B and lots of awesome stuff. And obviously Adam Abershoff, my musical soulmate, and all of ours dear friend Adam Bednarik, who you might recognize from Llewellyn and the Sun, awesome band from here in Nashville, and also Justin Townes Earl. He produced the last several records, and he's done some tours with me. He's done a lot of work with Pat over the years, and he's another obsessive record collector. He's a bro. So we're going to get together this Sunday to do a full band live stream, socially distant, of course, outside, masked up, and calling it the Play Blues, Don't Play No Rock and Roll live stream. We're going to play nothing but old stuff. We're talking Eddie Taylor, Bobby Bland, Fenton Robinson. We're going to play some Junior Kimbrough, going to play some Eddie Taylor, going to play a whole bunch of really groovy old school stuff. So that's going to be this Sunday, and it's going to be at 11 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Central, 2 o'clock Eastern. And we're going to stream for about an hour on Instagram and Facebook Live, and it will be archived to YouTube as well. And that's going to be both on mine and Pat. So if you follow me, or if you follow Pat, you'll be able to watch it either way. So I haven't done that yet. I haven't done a full band. I've had Adam here on the show. I've done virtual festivals of just me. This will be my first, pandemic full band live stream show, and it's really a cool thing. We're all obsessive about the same stuff, and we were going back and forth today about what songs we want to do, and it's just so cool to be so locked in with like-minded guys, because it's like all the tunes that we love and want to play, I'm not going to play no rock and roll. It's just going to be blues and real blues. So can't wait. So definitely tune in for that. So without further ado, I want to play the new video for Love. Just to give you some backstory, if you've been watching Greasy Time here, you've heard me talk about all of my contact with my friends and peers, and it's really been a beautiful experience through this whole incredibly trying time. And so my manager, Michael, actually first suggested me potentially making the video for Love, because Love was going to be the next song that was going to come out before the album came out. And he floated this by me quite a while ago. And of course, the last video is like my favorite thing that's ever been done with my name attached to it, that Ann Walker Farrell, the animated one for One of Those Days. And he's like, you're doing all this video editing and all this stuff for Greasy Time. What would you think? And I said, well, I got to think about it, because I don't know. First of all, I've never done something that labor intensive, and also I'd have to come up with a fairly decent idea, But then the more I thought about it, the more appropriate it seemed, that it's just, this is not a time for sort of business as usual, grandiosity. It just felt really right to me to do something that was kind of homemade and humble, rather than hiring somebody to come up with an idea to make me look cool. You know what I mean? And and it also kind of matches the sentiment of the song. And I never thought when I wrote the song Love that it would be so appropriate for the times that we're in. So I had I had a couple of notions that sort of turned into what it's turned into, where essentially I wanted to involve all these people that I've become close with. Some I literally have met for the first time through social media during the pandemic and become really close with in a short amount of time. Some people I've never been that close to, but have become closer to. I mean, it's just been a really interesting time for all of that. So I started reaching out to people. I came up with the concept of, shoot a video of yourself featuring the word love in some creative way. And it was pretty awesome seeing what people came up with. I mean, my friend Lily May, who Jack White fans will know, she's on Third Man Records. She has a great new record out that my buddy Dave Cobb produced. And she's played in Jack's band. She's the beautiful, awesome singing fiddle player. She plays everything. But anyway, she actually tattooed love on her hand. So it was pretty cool. So without further ado, I do want to feature this because I'm really proud of it, and proud of my friends, and proud to have my name connected to something that's, again, positive and apropos right now. So here's the new video for Love, which just came out today.
Hand tied and lace with What?
Man, you've just been sitting in the driveway for 3.5 minutes.
I just really miss touring.
Come on, bro, let's go jam.
There you have it. I love it. Really proud of it. I worked really hard on it, and I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you again to all of my many friends in there, and their effort and their time and their friendship means a lot. So, moving along here, folks. I'd like to get into the records of the week. I'm definitely in a hardcore blues mood this week, and my choices reflect that. So the first one is Mississippi Fred McDowell. This is something that you can find easily on Spotify. It's called Good Morning Little Schoolgirl, but this is not an album that was released during Fred's life. And I've been trying to figure out, I'm pretty sure that most of the performances are from the American Patchwork movie that the picture is from. That I'm sure you probably, at least some of you have probably seen the video for Louise that's on YouTube. I think that most of the performances are from that performance, which is from 69 or 70, I believe. And I used to watch that when I was a kid. It's one of the things I used to rent out of the public library in Chicago, was the American Patchwork video that had that performance. And so I been on a big, for the most part, hill country kick this week, but Mississippi Fred McDowell, and I'm kind of purposely trying not to, because he most of the time is in open tuning, open D or open E or open E flat, whatever. But his lines are very beautiful because they're not, Louise is a really good example, I'm sort of, that sort of major third thing, that thing is just so hip because it's just something you don't hear that much. In that tune, that's probably my favorite Fred McDowell tune. Most people in history will know him because of, to Move that the Rolling Stones covered down in Muscle Shoals, which is great. I love it. But Louise is, I just love that. It's just so great. I love that. Just a really, really big Fred McDowell fan. I was actually going to do a longer episode about Fred McDowell, and I'll do it at some point, but I got inundated with questions about something in particular for a specific reason, which I'll get to in a minute. But anyway, so that one record, that one Fred McDowell record is probably my favorite. Also, the first Mississippi Fred McDowell record, which is just called Mississippi Fred McDowell, came out in '68 or '69. Is a favorite as well. But I just love this one, and I was listening to it a lot this week. The next one is a record that Anson Funderburg turned me on to quite a while ago. This is the Jelly Roll Kings and Rockin' the Juke Joint Down. This is a great, funky, late 70s. It's sort of in between sort of Chicago and Hill Country. And actually that thing I was playing on the way in to the show tonight is a takeoff of a version of Burnt Biscuits, which Burnt Biscuits, actually, side note, that thing I played at the front of the show. That thing, that's actually the first record ever issued on Stax Volt down in Memphis, and it was by the Triumphs, which is on drums Howard Grimes, who would later go on to play on a lot of Al Green stuff, like Love and Happiness is Howard Grimes, and a lot of stuff on Stax too, like William Bell's You Don't Miss Your Water Till the Well Runs Dry, and Carla Thomas's Gee Whiz. That's all Howard Grimes playing drums. So he was kind of like, other than Al Jackson Jr., the important drummer from Stax. And so he was a drummer in the Triumphs, and then Louis Steinberg, who's the original bass player in Booker T and the MGs, okay, before Duck Dunn. And Louis actually is the guy who played bass on Green Onions, That's not Duck Dunn on the original record, that's Louis. And then on guitar is a guy that I haven't talked about enough on this show, Chips Moman. Chips Moman is most notably remembered as an incredible, record producer in Memphis. He had a studio called American, and he produced Son of a Preacher Man, Dusty Springfield, He produced that. He produced the Box Tops, The Letter. He produced Neil Diamond's Sweet Caroline. Sweet Caroline, good times never feel so good. I don't know why I feel the need to do that. It's kind of like Neil Diamond was like the precursor to James Hetfield. You know what I mean? That hey, brother loves salvation, sure. Anyway, it's my Neil Diamond impersonation. But he produced that, and he produced a lot of really great soul music. Memphis Soul Stew, I've talked about on the show before. He produced that, and also, the most famous stuff that Chips ever produced is probably, Elvis, Suspicious Minds, and also In the Ghetto, Incidentally, all these guitar parts I'm playing were Reggie Young playing them, as well as Wilson Pickett records, and just insane. So Chips Moman, before all that, was a session guitar player, and so he was the original guitar player in the Triumphs. I'm talking like 1961. So that record, that's actually Chips playing guitar. And actually, a bit of trivia for you. I don't remember what key she does it in, but Aretha Franklin's respect, you know. That part. I don't remember what it is, but anyway, I apologize. I'm usually good at that shit. But anyway, that's Chips playing lead guitar on that. I always thought it was Bobby Womack or Joe South or somebody, but that's actually Chips. So Chips was a funky guitar player, and he was kind of like, you know, before Reggie Young, before, you know, he's a little older than these guys, and he became a songwriter producer first, and then obviously stayed that way. And you know, Chips obviously had an incredible career. So anyway, getting back, I digress a lot, folks. I'm sorry. Getting back to the Jelly Roll Kings, this is just a great funky record, and they do a version of Burnt Biscuits on it. And anyway, you should listen to this record. It's real funky. It's cool. The other one that I listened to a bunch this week is, you know, Eddie Taylor. I can't get too far from Eddie Taylor. This is the I Feel So Bad record, which is sort of a compilation of some recordings from the 60s. You know, I've talked about him a lot on the show. You know, he's just one of the granddaddies of electric guitar, man. You know, a lot stems from him, and I just love the way he plays. I also love the way he sings. It's very understated. And so, moving on from there, I've been in, like, as I said, been in a real big hill country mood lately. So Junior Kimbrough, most things haven't worked out. Junior's my favorite of the hill country bluesmen. I love Ira Burnside, and I love T. Model Ford. You know, I really love Jimbo Mathis, the guitar player from down there, funky guitar player. Pardon me. And but Junior's my favorite. I just love the trance-like thing. I love his singing, and I just love how it just sounds like you're listening to a haunted house. And the last record of the week is JB Hutto and the House Rockers Live 77. And I want to talk about JB a little bit because I've talked about Hound Dog Taylor on the show before, and I certainly have talked about Earl Hooker a bunch. And JB is sort of he's if you like Hound Dog Taylor, you'll love JB Hutto. That's actually his band. I'll talk about that in a minute with him after Hound Dog passed away. But JB, you know, he sort of came up. He sort of came up at the same time as a lot of those guys did, you know, in the 50s or in the late 40s even, in Chicago. And he got really discouraged, you know, because a lot of people were starting to make money and starting to do well. And, you know, it's a hard life being a musician, especially hard for those guys. I mean, it's, you know, we can't relate to that kind of life. And so there's a famous story about, you know, one night they were working in a club, in a bar, and a woman got in a fight with her husband, and she took his guitar and broke it over her husband's head, and he was like, "That's it, I'm done with this shit, I'm out of here." And so he quit music for most of the 60s, and he actually became a janitor at a funeral home in Chicago. And finally Delmark Records, or Vanguard, Vanguard was the first one that signed him and got him to kind of get going again and got his confidence up. And, you know, he made a record, and then he went, you know, I've talked about Delmark before, Bob Kessler from the Jazz Record Mart in my native hometown of Chicago. Delmark, who also had Magic Sam, in sort of similar situation where it's like, you know, Magic Sam went through a period where he was real discouraged and wasn't really doing anything, and so JB Hutto kind of is the same kind of story. But JB Hutto has a little bit better of an ending than Magic Sam's. So, you know, JB started kind of coming into prominence, playing colleges, playing coffee houses, and kind of got in on the folk boom, the later end of the folk boom, getting well into the 70s. And then with the you know, relatively big success of Hound Dog Taylor, JB Hutto was able to you know, they sort of piggyback and get a lot of opportunities open for him because Hound Dog kind of walked through the door first. And, you know, this stuff is really raw, you know. I mean, you know, it makes Earl Hooker, you know, seem like Steve Vai in certain regards, you know. It's a real raunchy, distorted, funky kind of style. And after Hound Dog Taylor passed away, JB Hutto took his band, the House Rockers, which was Brewer Phillips on guitar, because there's no bass in that music. It's 2 guitars and drums, and the drummer's name was a guy named Ted Harvey. And so anyway, that stuff is really near and dear to my heart, and it's real funky. And so, you know, this is one of my favorite things that JB ever did, because it's real exciting. And his tune Hip Shakin' you might recognize, because it's been covered by a lot of people. And I'd actually like to recommend, for my first time on Records of the Week, I'd actually like to recommend a movie. Me and Patrick Sweeney been going back and forth about doing this live stream and a bunch of other stuff. And, you know, this movie right here, this is the Fat Possum movie from like 2001, 2002. You see Me Laughing, The Last of the Hill Country Bluesmen. This is sort of like another one of those things that it's like every one of my friends like can quote this chapter and verse, man. You know, like this is just a movie we've all watched a million times, and it spotlights, you know, Junior and RL and T Model Ford, but also C. Dell Davis, and it tells the story of Fat Possum and tells the story of these guys, and there's some incredible performances in it. And actually, Pat's in this movie. I didn't realize this, but Pat is actually in the audience watching RL when he's playing one of those festivals. And it's funny. I watched it just a couple days ago, and I'm like, my goodness, there's a real young Pat Sweeney, which is cool, man. Which is one of the many things that are cool about Pat Sweeney. But anyway, if you haven't indulged in this, which I'm sure probably a lot of you have, you know, it's on YouTube. It's real easy to find. I do strongly suggest, as always, to support, you know, small record labels and small record stores and all that. And, you know, it's easy to hop on Fat Possum and get some of this stuff, hard copies. But you definitely can check that movie out easily. So yeah, so there's your recommendations for this week. And I'm going to go ahead and play a tune that's sort of near and dear to my heart, that we lost Peter Green last week. And I'm going to talk a whole bunch about Peter in a minute, but I'm going to play a song for you. And then we're going to talk about some rig stuff. We're going to talk about Wawas, because I got more Wawa inquiries than I ever have in my life, thanks to my dear friend Tom Bukovac mentioning me in his show Homeschooling, which I'm sure we've got a lot of the same viewers. So I'll talk about Wawa pedals, because I've gotten a lot of Wawa messages. So, but I'm going to do this song for you. This is my favorite song that, well, second. I have 2 favorites of Peter's, but this is my favorite. I love the way he sings, so do this for Peter Green. need someone's hand to lead me through the night. I need someone's arm to hold and squeeze me tight. Now when the night begins and I'm at an end, that's when I need your love so bad. I need some lips to feel next to mine. I need someone to stand up and tell me when I'm lying, when it's time to go and the lights are low. That's when I need your love so bad. So why don't you give it up and bring it home to me, or write it on a piece of paper, woman, so it can be read to me. Tell me that you love me and stop driving me mad. Well, because I need your love so bad. I need a soft voice to talk to me at night. I don't want you to worry, baby. I know we can make everything alright. Listen to my plea, baby. Bring it to me, 'cause I need your love so bad. Oh, baby. Oh, you know, I need your love so bad. I need a woman now. I love that song. I love the way Peter sang too. He's a soulful cat. I'm very sorry for the loss of the world there. I want to transition into the next part of the show, where I want to talk about a couple of gear things, and then I want to talk about Wawa, because my dear friend Tom Bukovac on his homeschooling show, as I mentioned, was very kind and said some nice stuff about my Wawa work, and I appreciate that. I have a lot of respect and love for Tom. He's a good buddy. I won't tell you what we call each other. We have a name for each other. Tom, if you're watching, you know. And so the Wawa pedal, well, actually, hold on a second. So two things. One thing is I put the nylon saddles back on red. This is red, by the way. People are like, oh, is that a different guitar with the Bigsby on it? No, I put the Bigsby back on red, and I love it. I think it's fantastic. It sounds great. It feels great. My boy Kevin down at Carter Vintage actually put plug holes in here, so if you're right up on it, you can see the plug holes. But if you're from a distance, it's hard to see, which is groovy. Because I hate the look of the custom-made plaques that you put right there. I don't like that. I hate the way that looks. So anyway, Kevin, I got some nylon saddles. These aren't the originals because the originals are just toast, but these are a company from Philadelphia Luthery, I think is what it's called. And these apparently like are the right kind of nylon, like the old ones. They're not. It's not like super soft. This stuff is like hard as a rock, but it's still nylon. And I love the way it feels and the way it sounds. It took all that kind of 80s modern sound out completely. Like it makes it sound like the Silvertone now, sort of like where it just the frequencies are the frequencies I want. It's not that it made it darker. I mean, it did essentially kind of make it darker, but it's not muddy. It's buttery sounding now. Like it still pokes and has all the things I want about it, but it's like it took that kind of away, and I really like it. So that's one thing, and the other thing is you Bigsby fans out there, I got a spring from Reverend Guitars in Detroit. They make this spring, and this thing feels so damn good. It's amazing to me how good the Bigsby feels. It is so easy. It's so easy, and also like tuning stability and everything. Like, I mean, that thing's great, and that's again like a $10 part. So, thank you, Reverend Ken Haas and Penny and all those people up there. I love them dearly. Go back to the Don Kelly days, being friends with them. But this thing is killer. So anyway, check those out if you're so obliged. So, getting into the Wawa talk, all right? So, as you all know, fans of the show who've been watching me for the last little bit, you'll know that I've been really obsessed with with my Jack's Fuzz Wah from the 70s. This Japanese, it's got a fuzz in it, and it's a Wawa. And you know, the fuzz is my favorite. Fuzz. I mean, I love my fuzz face too. My real silicone fuzz face. But I love the sound of the fuzz in this. This has got that walk on by Isaac Hayes sound. You know, I've done it a million times on the show, but that sound. So it's like 2 in 1. I mean, really. I mean, it's like with this pedal, I'm good, man. I don't really need anything. You know, reverb and tremolo, I'm good. So, but the one thing I did to this Wawa pedal, before I get into actually like how I use it, chase tone. My buddy Nick Savigny up in Boston hit me to, because he's like a Wawa aficionado, man. Like he knows how to make those things amazing. Actually, I think he's running a thing where you can actually send your vintage wah to him, and he can like tweak it and do all his things to it, and it's like, you know, he's the king of it. So anyway, there's this pot. It's like a $12 pot. You just go to the Chase Tone website, and I had Barry at XTS put it in here, as well as reground the original circuit. And I love this thing because it's like, I don't really, you know, I'm not looking for, I've had old Voxes and Crybabies and stuff like that. And I've also had like boomerangs and stuff from the 60s. And, you know, I'm not going for like a Hendrix kind of sound or a Stevie Ray sound or anything at all. I'm looking for, you know, like a Eddie Hazel or a Michael Tolles or, you know, that kind of thing. So this thing suits what I'm looking for perfectly. And so you've already seen me, like, you know, I was actually doing a guesting on a podcast, the Tone Mob podcast earlier today with my boy Blake, and we were talking about Wawas too, because so many people don't use them or don't like to use them or feel weird about them. And, you know, for me, it's kind of the only effect that I have consistently used for the better part of a decade. You can kind of take every other effect away from me and I wouldn't miss it, but take a Wawa away from me and we got problems. So, you know, the conventional use of the Wawa pedal, conventional meaning what I think most people end up doing with it is sort of that kind of sweeping, like it sort of like mimics like what I guess like Kirk Hammett from Metallica or something use it for, that kind of my first introduction to like Wawa pedal was, you know, obviously Jimi Hendrix, but also, you know, like Tales of Brave Ulysses, Cream, you know, Eric Clapton, you know. Where he's using it like, he's using it for atmospherics. He's using it like as almost like a vibrato pedal. Okay, so like, you know, so I mean, without a Wawa pedal, I'm just playing. That's it. But with the Wawa pedal, using my foot, and it's like it adds a really nice texture. And you got to train your foot to do that. Like it's not the now it's not hard for me to do because I've been doing it for 10 years. But like I took a lot of it took a lot of time to get my foot to kind of do it because you got to, you know, it's almost like it's not like a drummer training his foot for using it on the kick drum or the hi-hat, but it's similar in that you're using it in like a rhythmic way and you have to like get used to it, and you're standing up, you know, typically. So I'm actually better doing it standing up than I am sitting down, but using it for that, using it as a vibrato, that's with me, like literally like just doing this as I'm playing a very simple phrase. Like that's one way to use it, which is sort of, to me, it's kind of very Clapton-y. Also, you know, like on White Room, you know. I can't really sound like I'm perfect anymore. I used to be able to nail them, but anyway, you know, the point is, you know, like using it as a way to kind of accentuate it. Another way is like using it like actually in time. Like that's using it as like almost like as if you were using it like a Leslie pedal or something, you know. Almost, you know, and then like, you know, which is similar to like Dazed and Confused, you know, like how he was using it. You know, getting it to, yeah, that kind of thing. So there's that, and then there's actually like using it in time with the song you're playing. So like, even harder because that's actually like, you know, getting it to where it's like pulsing, and that's just an example. And then you know, using it to sort of have certain parts of a part. What are you talking about, JB? To accentuate and make certain like times in a sort of a rhythmic pattern, like cut more, okay, like, you know, sort of like that the Shaft sort of mentality, skip pits. I'm accentuating on the downbeat. And that's something like doing a big flutter like that is really big, like on a Curtis Mayfield record, like later on, like, you know, psychedelic Curtis, you know. the Curtis Live record I've talked about on the show before has some really great Wawa work in that kind of. So again, it's like, you know, these are all very kind of subtle, but they're different ways that like I was influenced hearing it used. But one thing that it's criminally underused for is just plainly as a filter, and you've seen me use it several times already on the show as that. And there's a couple of guitar players in particular, like Leo Nositelli from the Meters is the most prominent one, where you listen to those old meter records and the guitar is so bright. There's no guitar amp combination that I've ever heard that would sound like that on its own. That's like processing, has to be processing after the fact, like with mic pre's or EQ or something. But a way that I can mimic it is use the wah as a filter. And like Jimmy Page and Ronson with David Bowie were like really famous for using their wah-wahs as filters, but it's usually always high gain, like really cutting and searing. I'm talking about using it like clean, like with clean guitar as a filter. And I use it like that all the time. And so, for example, like if I was going to do like a Leo Nositelli kind of thing, like a... That's just straight guitar, but with it notched. All the time, and it's one of my favorite things to use a wah-wah pedal for. Other notable times where I will do that is there's old blues guys like Eddie Taylor is one of them, and Earl Hooker is one of them, that again, there's these really bright sounds on these records, these old records, and it just it's not like, I'm sure that it's like EQ after the fact. And I can mimic that, getting that kind of really kind of cutting, clean sound, you know. So, like, if I was going to do like an Eddie Taylor kind of thing. And then with it. It gets that sound, you know. And with Earl Hooker, it's the same thing. But also, I've talked many times with Earl Hooker about, you know, he was very known for using the wah-wah pedal when most blues guys in Chicago wouldn't. And so I love using it with the slide, with a clean sound. Again, like, you know, these are all clean sounds. You know. I love the way that sounds and just the way that it feels. It just seems right to me. And the big difference with a lot of this is, you know, like I'm using like the wah-wah on a clean sound. I'm not using a heavily distorted. Now I'll use it with the wah-wah. I'll use the wah-wah with the fuzzes and stuff like that all the time, but that's kind of very normal. I think that kind of goes without saying that it's like if you slam a fuzz into a wah-wah pedal, you get all kinds of weird craziness, and have at it. By all means, get disgusting for the old JD, okay? But, you know, for me, the thing that I feel is most untapped is, like I'm saying, like either using it as a rhythm thing to accentuate, something to fill out space. Another thing is, you know, I'm in a trio. You know, I play in a trio, so using a wah-wah pedal in that sort of tremolo-esque sort of fashion, it kind of gives the illusion that there's more there than there really is, you know, because there's something moving around. And so, you know, it takes time, you know, so that's the other thing is, you know, I put a lot of effort into learning how to use it. And when I say learning how to use it, like sitting and trying to mimic these things off of records that I really thought were cool. And just like anything, like learning to play slide or your vibrato or, you know, whatever, you know, it takes a minute, you know, and it's like you add all that stuff up and it's like that's who you are as a musician, you know, and it's a groovy thing. So that's sort of, I've talked about using the wah-wah pedal before, but I figured I'd give a little bit more of an in-depth study of some of the ways that I use it and like to use it, and hopefully that inspires some of you out there. And you know, again, thank you, Brother Tom, for the lovely shout out. Much love to the homeschooling show. I watch it quite a bit myself, and like I said, Tom, I love you. You're a good man. I miss you, brother. So yeah, so let me go ahead and I'm gonna do another song for you. This I'm gonna do with the ES5 though, and forgive me if I screw this up. This is another one of my favorite. I'm gonna do a tune right now that is probably my favorite, other than that one I just played, Need Your Love So Bad. This is one of the coolest, you know, the thing that was so cool about Peter is Peter actually really understood blues, man, like real blues, and I'll talk about that more in a minute. But this is sort of his tribute to John Lee Hooker. Don't look for no worry. Worries and troubles come around. Don't look for no worry. Worries and troubles come around. World keep on turning. Got to keep my feet on the ground. Nobody saw me cry. Nobody knows the way I feel. Nobody saw me crying. Nobody knows the way I feel. World keep on turning, baby. Got to keep on, and I might get killed. Yeah, I love the woman bound to get me killed. Don't look for no worries. Worries and trouble come around. Don't look for no worries, people. Worries and trouble come around. World keep on turning. Got to keep my feet on the ground. I love the girl so good. She made my low down butter come. I love the girl so good. She made my low down butter come. I need a woman so bad. I need her like the sky needs the sun. Don't look for no worries. Worries and trouble come around. Don't look for no worries. Worries and trouble come around. World keep on turning. Got to keep my feet on the ground. Yeah. I love that song. I love Peter Green, man. So, without further ado, let's talk about the Green God a little bit. I lost him last Friday, I think. Peter Greenbaum, there he is, back in his glory days. So, you know, for those who are not familiar, you know, Peter came to prominence in the mid-'60s. He was born Peter Greenbaum and went under the moniker of Peter Green. And when Eric Clapton took off from John Mayall's Blues Breakers after the highly influential Beano record, or actually it might have even been before that, I don't know. The timeline of all that gets really hazy because apparently Eric was in and out of the Blues Breakers quite a bit, and then the Beano record was actually one of the last things he ever did with John Mayall. So in any rate, when one of the times when Eric left John Mayall to go to play in a band called the Glands, which is a band that he joined, and I believe they went to Greece, and there's a whole big funny story around that. But anyway, Peter took over for Eric, and then eventually when Eric left for good, Peter was the permanent replacement for him in the Blues Breakers. And there's a real famous story of John Mayall and the band going in to cut what would become A Hard Road record, which was the follow-up to the Beano album. And Mike Vernon, who was the producer, noticed that there was a different amp and all that, and they were like, you know, what's this, you know? And he's like, oh, Eric's no longer with us, you know, I've got somebody much better. And Vernon was immediately like, well, what the hell are you talking about? Better than Eric Clapton? And Peter floored him. He, completely, mesmerized Mike Vernon, so much so that Vernon ended up becoming his manager and producer, and factors a big part in Peter's story. And so Peter was in the Blues Breakers for a while with John McVie, obviously playing bass. And at one point, after Ainsley Dunbar left the band, who was the drummer in Eric's time period, Mick Fleetwood, a very young Mick Fleetwood, I think it was only like 17 or 19 or something, joined the band. And as a present, I think it was a birthday present, if I'm not mistaken, John Mayall got Peter some studio time to cut whatever he wanted to cut with Mike Vernon, and went in and cut a couple of tracks. And when Vernon asked him, what is this? What are you going to call this? He said, let's call it Fleetwood Mac. After Mick Fleetwood, John McVie, and so that became the birth of Fleetwood Mac, which is obviously quite a bit different from what the world knows Fleetwood Mac as. And they eventually, Mick Fleetwood and Peter, left John Mayall's Blues Breakers. John didn't in the beginning, because John hung around. John had been with the Blues Breakers for quite some time, and it was a great gig, at the time, paying gig, steady gig, all that. So essentially, Fleetwood Mac formed with a guy named Bob Brunning playing bass originally, and they played their first handful of gigs. And Mike Vernon actually introduced Peter to another great young guitar player and singer, a guy named Jeremy Spencer, this guy right here. And Jeremy was, another young British kid that was obsessed with American blues. And Jeremy in particular was very, very, very obsessed with Elmore James, and really, really could nail Elmore the way, both in his singing and his playing. It's really, really, really uncanny. And so they released, their first record, Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac, and started off on their journey, in the late 60s there. And, made several records in succession. I won't go through all of them, but, the biggest thing that happened, though, was they ended up cutting this beautiful lilting instrumental called Albatross, which became a really big, successful hit record. And also, around the same time, I guess in '69, Santana covered their song, Peter's song, Black Magic Woman. And obviously that became this huge record. And so all of a sudden, Fleetwood Mac was, because they were kind of bottom of the bill for a while, touring around and, doing okay, doing fine, but, not having like gigantic, big success. But then all of a sudden they became like really big stars. And Peter was really wary of material success. He had a very strong ethic code in him, and there's a very famous story about a time that he dropped acid in Munich, Germany, and unfortunately there wasn't, after that day, Peter was never the same. And there was, unfortunately, he left Fleetwood Mac and didn't really do a lot for quite a while, succumbed to some pretty serious mental illness. It's really a tragic story because, he was such an incredibly important, influential musician and artist who is, who kind of like got derailed there right as he was at the point where he was starting to really have a lot of influence and really reaching his full potential. And obviously, it's nice that he was able to live a long life and just passed away last week. But in a lot of ways, it's like very similar to like Syd Barrett from Pink Floyd or something, where their story continued, but it's kind of, it's augmented and it's sad. I mean, he was able to do some stuff, but he was a very different person, but an amazing one. And there's a couple of things. I also want to take the time to shout out to Danny Kerwin, who later on would join Fleetwood Mac towards the end of Peter's time with them. And Danny was another brilliant young guitar player, and they were, 3 guitar players just killing it, him, Jeremy, and Peter. And the 2 records that were the most influential on me when I was a kid, how I actually found out about Fleetwood Mac, was this record right here, Blues Jam in Chicago. This is when Fleetwood Mac went to Chess Studios in Chicago, and they cut with, you see the list there. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Otis Spann, from Muddy Waters Band, Willie Dixon, Shaky Horton, J.T. Brown, Guitar Buddy, Honey Boy Edwards, S.P. Leary. It's pretty crazy. And then they also did a volume 2 of that as well, which was equally as great. And those were the 2 records that I got introduced to Fleetwood Mac about, because like many people, I as a kid thought of Fleetwood Mac as Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks and all that. And it's really is kind of bizarre that McVie and Fleetwood had this life as like literally one of the most authentic blues bands to ever exist, outside of the real thing, and then go on to do what they did. It is kind of bizarre. I'm happy for their pocketbook, obviously, but it is pretty funny, because you just would never think that, listening to these records that I'm talking about, you would just never in a million years be like, that's gonna be what becomes this. And also, growing up in Chicago, I was very obsessed with, all things Chicago. So, Chess Studios and all that. I've told the story before of like going down there when I was a kid and it was boarded up. This is before it was renovated. Now you can actually go in and look at the Chess Studio at 2120 South Michigan Avenue. But when I was a kid, you couldn't. And so that also kind of drew me to those records, because it was like, oh, these guys went to Chess, and Peter had this beautiful out of phase sound, and was obviously very influenced by B.B. King and very influenced by Freddie King. All that, BB-ism, which I can do all night long. He was so incredible at it. And here's what I'll say about it. There's obviously some of the most influential music to ever hit the planet came from Britain, and it was guys from Britain that loved American blues, and Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page, Jeff Beck, and many others, but Peter's the only one of them that is, like, in my humble opinion, is a real blues player. Okay? And I don't mean that to, like, start an argument or start a fight or as a knock. When I hear Eric Clapton play, even when he's playing blues, like, he sounds like a rock guitar player to me. There's definitely a lot of blues in it, and it's great. It's amazing. It was hugely influential to me. But it's just Peter had this ability, like Michael Bloomfield did, to really embody the language of the real blues, unlike any of his, peers, by quite a big margin. And it's pretty amazing when you go back and you listen to some of the live recordings of Peter, especially on those slow blueses, where it's like he really does embody that sort of, that thing, that real thing that, he's taken from B.B. King and he's taken from Freddie King. And it's really impressive and really, really moving and really beautiful. And I hadn't in quite a long time. I'm so busy listening to all this old obscure stuff and digging through old soul records and jazz records and all this kind of stuff. I hadn't really thought about Peter or Fleetwood Mac for quite some time. And when he passed away last week, it was just like, man, it was a huge influence on me because of what I'm talking about right now. Like, me recognizing, okay, when all these other guys do it, it sounds bluesy. It sounds, it's definitely got one foot in blues, but it's like, man, when you listen to Peter do it, even when he's playing rock even too, it's like he sounds like a blues guy, man. He sounds like a real blues guy, just like Bloomfield did. He's like I look at him as the British version of Michael Bloomfield. And, right hand, left hand kind of thing. And, sorely missed, and obviously the tragedy of what happened to him is a tragedy and really, really sad. But God bless him, he really made some incredible music and sure paid tribute to the real stuff in a way that few really do. And he also seemed to have a really good heart. That's another big thing. The world is full of weirdness and assholes, and especially in the music business, there's a lot of good, bad, and ugly, and it's like when there's a guy like him that by all accounts he was a very cool, sweet guy that cared and tried to do the right thing. It's pretty cool and very inspiring, and it comes through. When I listen to him, I feel like I can hear his soul. So that's my little tribute to the amazing Peter Green. Thank you for blessing us with your talent, bro. You will be missed. Moving on from here, I've got a song, another a premiere like always here on Greasy Time. This is a song that this week my good friend Adam Bednark, who's going to do the live stream with me and Patrick Sweeney and Adam on this Sunday, he came over to work on some stuff with Adam and I this week, and we ended up doing this really funky, psychedelic, very influenced by, Junior Kimbrough and that sort of trance, like, we all, me and him and Abershoff all are really, we love that stuff a lot. And, but also we like funkadelic and we like psychedelic music and all that, so it all kind of gets mixed together. So I had written some words earlier in the week. I'd written a song, just the lyrics, which is rare for me. I don't really do that much. And we were jamming, and I had the mic open for me to sing into if I wanted. I never use it, or I haven't been using it lately, but I happen to use it because I recognized that the words I'd written a couple of days ago fit with what we were doing. And so literally we were just improvising and got into this groove and got into this feel, and then I sang it, and we did, and that was the only time that's what you're going to hear. Okay. Again, very kind of in the spirit of the hill country tradition, very of the moment. And I went through and edited some appropriate, the song is called Go Away Satan. And what I mean by that is, kind of like when Jesus rebuked the devil in the Bible, you know, like, go away, Satan, get away from me. Meaning, you know, that there's, you know, whenever there's hardship, you know, and adversity, you know, I, for one, I'm a fighter, you know, like I'm kind of like, when I'm kind of backed up against the wall, I'm like, fuck this. And I fight back, and I get back on my feet, and I go. It's something I learned from my father, I'm sure, who is a hard-working guy. Grew up poor in Chicago in the 30s, and, you know, that kind of constitution of, you know, dust yourself off and get back up and go for it kind of mentality. And so the sentiment of, like, go away, Satan, get out of my way, is sort of, that's what I mean by it. And so I went and found all this really great footage from the 40s and the 50s from the Delta. And there's some beautiful footage I found from old churches that I thought was really beautiful and really spoke to me. And there's also some, you know, incredible photos I found from a couple of different photographers that I really admire, that really kind of document, you know, some real pain and some real adversity. And I think it's important right now, as things are so difficult for a lot of people, and I completely relate, because I'm having a hard time at times as well, that there are some folks out there that really, really know what it's like to be down, and I am not one of them, you know. And sort of knock yourself back into a place of gratitude and flip it around to try and find ways that you can help others, you know, because that's what it's really about. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoy the latest offering from the House of Grease here. This is a tune called "Go Away, Satan." Check it out.
Satan. I got nothing left to say to you. So,
There you have it, folks. Go away, Satan. So, well, we come to the end of another episode, and I want to thank you all very, very much for tuning in and being so kind week after week. I do humbly ask you to follow me on Spotify. Just type in JD Simo, check out the new single, Love. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, JD Simo Music, where all of these shows are archived to. And also, if you care to, I really would appreciate you throwing some money in the old tip jug there, the Venmo and PayPal. I humbly thank you in advance. And also, just want to do a quick reminder that this Sunday, the Play Blues, Don't Play No Rock and Roll live stream with myself, Patrick Sweeney, Adam Bednarik, and Adam Abershoff is going to be this Sunday, August 2nd at 11 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Central, and 2 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be great. We're going to play nothing but old school blues, and I really can't wait. It's going to be my first full band live stream, and I couldn't be more excited about it with my friends playing music that I love. And also, got the thing with Jimmy James tomorrow on Instagram, so check out that if you care to. And the new record comes out August 21st. Feel free to pre-order it. Man, just take care of yourselves, okay? We got a bunch more big updates. Actually, next week, next week's Greasy Time, we're actually going to welcome our first digital guest. And it's a Texas legend that I love and respect dearly, and very grateful. So keep your eyes peeled, because we're going to have a slightly different format next week to allow a good lengthy conversation with a hero of mine, and I'm sure a hero of a lot of yours. So that's coming up, and a bunch more. So just hang tight. Love yourself, love your neighbor, just love in general, okay? And remember to always keep it greasy, okay? Peace and love. Take care. See you later.